What's going on, YouTube? Today we're going to be talking about the Undaunted Celebration event, probably the #1 or #2 best money-making event in all of ESO. It's got lucrative rewards, extremely valuable rewards, and it's got so much to kind of talk about. There's easy ways to get event tickets, easy ways to farm these drops, new items that are added for this Undaunted Celebration event, returning items from the previous Undaunted Celebration event. We are going to be going over all of that and more in this video. So the structure of this video will look like, firstly, we're going to be talking about the rewards, what you can get from where, because they have tweaked that. That's an important change that they've made. Then we'll be talking about the best way to farm this event. And then finally, we'll be talking about the specifics and a little bit of the minutia of like rewards that will be accessible through the event tickets and so on and so forth. So starting with the actual event overview itself and the event tickets, fairly straightforward. Basically, every time you slay your first dungeon boss, veteran or normal, you're going to be getting 2 event tickets and a juiced up glorious Undaunted reward box. These basically will guarantee to give you a new style page for this event's opal weapons, which also will be featuring a return from previous Undaunted Celebration events, which includes Lambrus, Troll King, Bloodspawn, Engine Guardian, and Chokethorn. We'll be talking about those here shortly, as some of those are extremely valuable, and the staff that you guys see me commonly use is actually the Opal Engine Guardian staff, and I had to buy it for 1.5 million gold either 2 or 3 years ago, and it is still an extremely valuable staff that was not available to be gained last year, so it's just climbing in value since then. So we'll be talking about that here shortly after our overview, but just to give you a little bit of what's to come here. So after you finish your first one, you get your glorious reward box. Every single dungeon you complete, again, veteran or normal, afterwards will give you a normal Undaunted reward boxes. These are very similar to the normal reward boxes that you get from any event. Generally, the first one you do gives you a gold one. The subsequent ones are purple ones. Very similar to that. These still have a chance to give you any opal page, though, however, which is important because some people seem to be confused, because the next big change that they have made is that while the boxes have a chance to drop opal pages accordingly, each dungeon box will have its own set piece from an item that can be dropped from that dungeon respectively. So what does that mean? So say I was farming Spindle Clutch 1 and I was opening Spindle Clutch 1 boxes, for example. I would be able to still get any opal page, anything like that, but however, I would only have a chance to get dungeon pieces that would be unsellable from those boxes from the dungeon that I was completing. So that's the big change that has a lot of people confused, because some people seem to think that only opal pages will drop from the specific dungeon that they're being completed from, and that's not true. All the boxes have a chance to drop all of the style pages, which is important because that's going to play very heavily into what I suggest that you guys farm, because obviously some dungeons are very fast and some are unfortunately very, very long. For those of you who queue for random dungeons, you know you may have a 10-minute dungeon that you can do in 10 minutes, or you may have an hour-long excursion that can feel like an absolute, excursion for the rest of the day. Now, there is reason, however, to consider running different dungeons, and we've talked a little bit about dungeon gear. So obviously, if you're attempting to farm like a specific dungeon set, say I was trying to farm like the leeching set, obviously you would be able to get extra reward coffers, so you could farm the Imperial City Prison for that. However, that's not going to be the most efficient way to farm these reward boxes. But I also want to draw your attention to opal monster masks. So if you're interested in getting the masks, they can be dropped from veteran hard mode only from certain dungeons. These include Spindle Clutch 2, which will give you Bloodspawn, Crypt of Hearts 1, which will give you Lambrus, Darkshade Caverns 2, which will give you the Engine Guardian, Blessed Crucible, which will give you Troll King. So if you're interested in farming those specific monster helms, you have to do those dungeons on veteran hard mode. I also want to briefly note too that this is all potentially subject to change too, because this is just what's in the PTS. That's the information I'm giving you is based on what is in the PTS server and what's in their preliminary patch notes. So If there are changes, obviously I'll post follow-up videos, and if they clarify or change certain things, obviously you'll see me make follow-up videos, and I'll be very active during this event too, because I want to help you guys, because this is a really fun event, especially for those of you who don't enjoy the last PvP event, or you don't have a lot of like crafters for like the other year one celebration events and those other events. This is a really fun event. It's a very good social event to go out, do dungeons, farm rewards, get those reward boxes, potentially get items that are worth bajillions of gold. Like, this is a super fun event that I really want you guys to participate in as much as possible, which segues into my kind of next and final point, and that is, how should you be participating in this event? What's the best way to participate / make the most amount of money? But just before we do that, I have to ask at some point in the video if you guys wouldn't mind liking and subscribing, and if you want to be entered in the giveaway, all you have to do is leave a comment. So if you want to leave a comment on this video or any other video, you're more than welcome to. It puts you in the giveaway. But now let's talk about the number one way to farm this event. So the number one way for you guys to be farming those reward boxes is going to be Fungal Grotto. Fungal Grotto can be completed extremely fast, even with a group of players who are low level. Even with a group of level 20 friends who are not naked, you guys will easily be able to clear this on normal or veteran, depending on your preference. However, unless you're trying to get a mass page from a specific dungeon, there's no downside to farming this on normal. So feel free to farm these dungeons on normal, and you'll still have a chance to get those very valuable reward pieces. So that's my kind of suggestion to you. There is a person who has a really in-depth guide on how to speedrun Fungal Grotto, and I really want you guys to watch that video too if you don't already know the method, because they put out a really good video on it. It would be kind of rude of me to just take the game clip of it and then overlay it on my video, because they did such a good job, and they also deserve you guys' views. So I'll put that in the comments below. But also consider too, because this is a big change from last year, is if you want a specific dungeon set, like if you're farming Kinross, there's nothing wrong with doing Black Drake Villa, getting rewards coffers from there. Again, it's not a super long dungeon, and then you get extra chances to get rewards pieces and rewards coffers from that specific dungeon. Great time to do that, and I think it's a really good opportunity too to do some higher tier dungeons that you might not normally be able to do, kind of solo, or you may not really want to farm. Like if you don't have like Balorgs, go out there and farm March of Sacrifice, get that Balorg set, because people are going to be farming dungeons like fiends. So that's kind of my suggestion to you guys. I know it's a very general one, and I'll definitely be putting out a video showing, myself doing it, showing the speed run specifically. But in the meantime, those are what I want you guys to consider. Do you need any dungeon sets? And do you just want to run the same dungeon like monsters, over and over? Because I did this last year and the year before. Just ran that the same dungeon over and over again. There's a lot of ways you can always get groups too. Groups of 4 DPS will run things like the Fungal Grotto. Even on veteran, it's still very fast to do. There'll be other groups of people who are more so just 1 tank, 3 DPS. That's generally what you're going to see during a lot of dungeons, is 3 DPS, 1 tank. So if you have a tank, you're going to be really sought after for certain dungeons. So consider being a tank, or consider, just being a DPS that has the ability to heal others, because you can queue as a healer. But that's going to kind of wrap up my specific suggestions. It's really very simple. There's really one specific dungeon that is the fastest one to run. That's Fungal Grotto 1. But now that this event gives you the ability to get really good dungeon gear drops, it's really worth considering, do you need a specific dungeon set? Because this can make it really easy to farm, because some dungeon sets are absolutely terrible, and being able to get like weapons and jewelry drops from those coffers will make it significantly easier for you. And finally, to wrap up, I wanted to put this kind of thing to your attention, because I do care about you guys, and this happens all the time. So the number one way that these individuals sometimes will make money during these events is they'll say, so the cheapest style page that they could resell is for 15,000. So what they'll do is they'll go zone to zone, and they'll buy every single style page. They'll put out buying all unwanted style pages, 15,000 gold. And people will go, okay, well, I've seen them sell for as low as 15,000. I'll just send them all over. People don't realize that some of them are worth upwards of, 1 to 2 million gold. So that's where a lot of people will unfortunately lose a lot of their money during this event. So don't be it's too quick to get rid of what you have. A lot of those style pages really do have tons of value to them. So don't just consider that they're worthless. I will be posting a video when I get a really good estimate of which style pages are significant and valuable, and making that video when the event is either just about to come out or is already out, because I don't want you guys getting scammed. And I want you guys to know, like, oh my gosh, I just got this really good item. It's really annoying because you're going to get one minimum every single day to have to price check every single one. So a nice little list of like, hey, look out for these would be really helpful. So look out for that in the future. But, you know, this has kind of wrapped up my thoughts on this event. Super fun event. Thank you guys for stopping by, and I'll catch you guys tomorrow. Bye, guys.
You better remember to like and subscribe to Jake Clips. Or you should. I might have to pluck your eyes if you don't. Or, better yet, I'll skip rope with your entrails. Do it now. Subscribe. Ta-ta. Off with you.